Hey, it's Mike with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it is actually Monday, August 19th, around 11 o'clock Central Standard Time. And I'm going to demonstrate a live trade for you. And but the main reason I wanted to do this is I've had a couple of people contact me lately, and asking me about the strategy, saying they read somewhere that the strategy was no good anymore, that the price actions changed, that the markets have changed, and our strategy doesn't work anymore. It's outdated. Um, and so, you get one email like that, you don't think much about it. When you start to get a couple of them, something's being said out there. There's some word that's gotten on the street that's in regards to that. And so I just wanted to clear the air up and show you that the strategy works the same as it always did. And I'm going to take um, a trade here. I'll pause it in a little bit and we'll wait till the setup comes and we'll take the trade. Um, but I want to clear the air and tell you that price structure, price movements, everything about price action is exactly the same as it was 25 years ago when I started doing this. So no, the strategy is not changed. Yes, volatility comes and goes. You get higher volatility, you get lower volatility. And some of the rules we originally put out there were when the volatility was lower. So that's regarding your safety stop. And people have it beat in your head that you have to have this perfect uh, um, this thought that there's a risk reward and if you're taking small rewards you can't take a big risk. Well, I would agree with that to a certain extent. If you're scalping singles, you can't scalp 4 ticks and then take 12 and 14 tick hits. No, it won't. The math won't work. It simply won't work. But the thing you got to realize, we're only going for 4 ticks here, 4 measly ticks. So really, when the volatility is higher, it's easier and quicker to get your 4 ticks. Now, granted, you have to read the chart properly. If you're only winning at 70 or, even if you're winning at 70%, you're probably not doing that great if you're taking huge hits. You got to have some runners in there occasionally. That helps. Uh, I mean, you can do this just scalping, not with singles and taking 4 ticks and then uh, 12 tick hits or even 8 tick hits every time. No, it won't. The math won't work. So understand that, but that doesn't mean the strategy doesn't work. All the entries we taught and the price movements and the price action, it all works the same. So if you're only going to trade scalp singles, if you're only going to trade singles, then I suggest you switch to a swing trade type strategy. Go for as much as you can get, and I'll talk about that when I take a live trade. I'll talk about some of that. Or at the very least, if you got to go, if your stop has to be 14 ticks to put your stop, because where you put your safety stop is more important than how big it is. Trust me on that. And if you're reading the chart right and you put your stop where it goes, it's very rarely you're going to get stopped out. Especially if you're only going for 4 ticks. Now, if you start going for more, that changes things. Obviously, if you're going to try to scalp points, uh, uh, if you're going to try to get runners, don't try to get a runner when prices look like this right here, because they're not going very far. You're not going. How much bigger of a runner can you get? Maybe you try to get one off the high here or off the low here, but not in here doing this. So yeah, I would just only scalp out what you have room. Only go for what you got room to get. In other words, so if you wanted to go short here, then you probably your target needs to be right in here where it's bounced the last few times. And how much room is that? There's still probably a good bit of room there. Yeah, you could still get a runner there. You could go for 6 ticks, 5 ticks, and if you do a swing trade and each time you move your stop above the last swing right there, and then the next one would have been, yeah, you would have got stopped out right here basically because that's the last swing high. So if you just moved it down from there, let's say you entered there, you would have still got 10 points there easy. So if you're going to try to do singles and high volatility, you're going to have to swing trade. Now, ideally, when you're doing the scalp and run, it's 20%, 80% scalp, 20% runners. Well, in order to do that, you got to get to 5 contracts, and that's not easy. It's not easy because it's a lot of leverage for somebody starting out early, and so that's not easy. But that's the idea, because then you get 4. You're winning on 4 contracts, but when you have a loser, you're losing on 5. So it changes your math, and you will get some runners sometimes. So and those runners will erase, one good runner will erase a lot of losers, and so it really changes your math. So, but it's not the strategy. It's not the price action has not changed. It moves exactly the same. The rules are exactly the same. But yes, the volatility does increase and decrease. It increases and decreases. And when we originally had the 8-tick stop rule, there were a lot of bars, signal bars that were 8 ticks or less. Well, we don't have that now. Some days we do, but most days we don't. So you have to, you don't, doesn't mean the strategy doesn't work, but it just means you change the way you do your stop. So, like I said, if you're going to if you're going to trade singles, which most people have to do starting out, then go for, if your stop's 8 ticks, go for 8 ticks profit. Just make sure you got the room to get that scalp. That's the only difference. So, if you're trying to enter a second entry or trying to enter, let's just say you were trying to enter here. I'm not saying you would, but just say you were. Well, you don't have much room there, so you probably couldn't get 8 ticks. It looks like it probably would have worked anyway, but it doesn't look like you got room because it may turn back down. So don't try to get 8 ticks there. Now, way down here, and you got room all the way back to here. That's a whole different story. You got 7 points there, so you got plenty of room. You could actually go for some extra there. So just make sure you understand what I'm saying there. So anyway, the point of this whole video is I'm going to demonstrate a live trade when one sets up, and then next I'm going to, but the main thing is just to help explain to people that the strategy has not changed. The price action has not changed. The prices are still moving exactly the same. The rules work exactly the same, and the rules are really designed to help you understand price movements, because prices don't move under common sense. They move totally opposite of common sense. So we created these rules to help people with it. And so those rules in the manual are there for a reason. It's to help you understand the price movements, because common sense, if you try to trade using common sense, you're going to lose your shirt. You have to know that most breakouts of ranges, like right here, it fails and it turns back. It breaks out, it fails, it turns back down. Most breakouts fail. Once you get a channel working up or a trend, you usually get a break, a move to a new high, and then it does something. It either goes sideways or reverses. And look, we got that here and it went sideways. Then you got another little trend up here, and it hit the range and just reversed, the top of the range and just reversed. And so just those rules are there for a reason, to help keep you on the right side of the market and to help you understand what prices do. And those have not changed one bit. And the way our setups and where we enter have not changed one bit. Now, the signal bars have gotten bigger. They get bigger and then they get smaller, and they get big. It depends on the volatility. So that does change. But don't let somebody convince you that changes the strategy, because it does not. Now, yeah, you got to approach it a little different. If you're just going to trade singles, you got to do something different. You either got to you could actually try to get in the trade with a better entry. You're going to miss the best trades when that happens. So keep that in mind. Or you could go for the extra to make up the difference. Just make sure that because if you're entering the right spot and there's room to get that, you're probably going to get it. Now, if you're just missing the trades and you're risk rating the chart, nothing's going to help you. You're going to lose regardless, whether you're trading, whether you got a 5 tick signal bar or a 20 tick signal bar. If you're entering in the wrong place, you're going to lose. So nothing changes that. But the price action has not changed one bit, and the price movements have not changed one bit. Just the volatility is a little higher at times, and the bars get bigger. So, another way you might offset that is to make your chart a little bigger. It's true. I mean, I haven't tried that. I don't change anything. I just keep trading it the same way. But try going to a 2,500 or 3,000 tick chart and see if that helps a little bit. Because your bars are going to move. It's going to move faster, but maybe they'll be smaller bars. Instead of this bar being 25 ticks, maybe it's only 12 ticks, and gives you a better entry point. You get in a little further down here instead of way up here. So it's just something to try. If you do try it, don't do it live. Go to the simulator, make sure you can make it work. But anyway, I'm going to pause this and we'll bring it up when we got a video, and when we do, we'll demonstrate the video. All right, I hope this has been helpful to you, but don't let people convince you that this doesn't work anymore. It works exactly the same as ever. I've been doing it 25 plus years and it's never changed. Yes, the volatility changes, but the strategy never changes. Price action movements never change. They move exactly the same. And you can go to any size chart and they do the same things. So, and that's why that's the beauty. There's something happening at every level here. And that's why price action is universal. But I can show you chart after chart and it all works the same way. So anyway, I hope that's helpful to you. We'll start it back up here when a trade pops up. Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com. And I'm going to try to demonstrate this trade here for you. We're in an uptrend here, and we're about to trigger a second entry. It's a little bit congested here, but this is a good trend working higher here. We got plenty of room to get out here. All right, I need to move I want to be one tick below the low here. This was kind of a different second entry. You could put your stop here. Doesn't really matter either one. It gives it a little more room here. It makes it a little bit more risky trade by putting it here, but you could put it either place depending on how much risk you want to take. And I just want to demonstrate here that this stuff works the same as it's always worked. Nothing's changed. The market can, just because the volatility gets a lot higher doesn't mean the strategy doesn't work anymore. And first thing we want to do is just try to get our scalp here. And then once we get our scalp, assuming that we're successful with that, then we'll look at the runner here. And there we go. We scalped out. We moved to break even. You could change this. You could make it break even plus one. You could make it. You could use one of your contracts to give it a little more room if you wanted to. It doesn't matter how you trade. Let's just use one of our contracts. That we've already got profit on to give it a little more room there. So we don't get stopped out at a break even. Just gives you a little more odds of getting a runner here is all it really does. And you take on a little more risk. So we've already scalped out with 15 contracts at 4 ticks. So we've got a profit in, and we'll see if we can get a runner here. This would be a 3-point runner. We're struggling to get this. We could go ahead and exit and take what we've got, or we could hang on and see if we get a runner here. There's risk either way. Depends on how you want to play it. So, but the main thing I just want to demonstrate is the strategy has not changed. It works the same. People have been saying, with the high volatility, the strategy doesn't work anymore. You can't use this strategy. It's outdated. That's just not true. The strategy works exactly the same. Nothing's changed. Do you have to use a bigger stop and take on a little more risk sometimes? Yes, you do. That's a given. But as far as the strategy working, it works the same. Yeah, if you're scalping singles, no, you can't take a 4-tick profit and then every time you lose 8 or 12, 14 ticks. No, the math will not work for that. So you will have to try to do something different there. You either got to try to work on getting a better entry, or maybe you do want to go for an extra. So if you have to use a 12 tick stop, then maybe you want to go for 8 or 10 ticks or 12 ticks just to even it up. Do I do that? No, I don't do that. But if you're so convinced you can't do it otherwise, then maybe you want to do that. And you see they did come back and they got all the break-even stops. They see my stop there. They're probably trying to get it. Will we survive by moving it, by giving it more room? We'll see. But I just want to show you the strategy still works. Nothing's changed with the strategy. Maybe when the volatility's crazy and you get super large signal bars, you have to do something a little different. But your entries can be, and you can use this to swing trade. Just don't try to swing trade in a 2 or 3 point range, because you're not going to probably get much movement out of that. The odds are not with you on that. And we still got stopped out on that. So anyway, I still just wanted to show you that the strategy works there. Nothing's changed. It's still exactly the same. And it still works exactly the same. And basically, I just took a second entry long. It's a little congested, so it's no real surprise that prices came back there. That's the reason I tried to give it a little more room, hoping maybe it would take on off. But we're about to get a break of this channel here. But just to close this out, if you're entering in the right places, it's very rare that you're going to get prices to come back, and you're not going to catch a lot of heat. If you look at most of your entries at a key entry point. All right, here we were in a range. If you'd entered here on this failed break lower, I'm not saying any of these are trades you would take. I'm just going to show you that you get very little heat when you're entering at the right places at the key entry point. And you can see prices barely backed up into that bar. So you take zero heat there. Here's a signal bar that's, you might call that's a, actually the failure was right here. And that one didn't take any heat at all. You would have scalped right out of it. Now it came back and got any break even, but you still didn't take much heat on where your stop would be if you wanted to try to get a runner. Well, it didn't break above that one. Here's a second entry short. It's a really big bar. Actually, that's not a second. I mean, it's a hidden second entry, but it would have triggered. It was below that bar. So, but even if you'd enter on that bar, it didn't take much heat. You would have got your scalp, and then it reverses. But let's say you entered here on this failed breakout. Again, I don't really like that setup. But It's a second entry short. It's a failed breakout. It's way away from the EMA, and you see that once it breaks lower, it takes very little heat, and it's gone. Here's that reversal we talked about earlier. I mean, it breaks above and it just takes off. It doesn't take any heat at all. Here's a hidden second entry. It didn't trigger. It didn't trigger till this bar, but notice they just don't take any real heat. I mean, even this trade I took, it didn't take any real heat until it came back. I mean, it just broke higher and went straight up, and there was the trade. So, I mean, there's just not a lot of trades today here, but it's kind of a slow day. But the price action, the point is, the price action hasn't changed. The trades don't take that much heat. If you're reading it, your best entries are always going to be at the key entry points. That's the support and the resistance. If it's a range, be the highs and lows. And if it's a channel, it's the same thing. It's just an angled range. The highs and the lows. Of course, if it's trending higher, you don't want to take any shorts really. So you're just waiting on prices to come back to the trend line and give you a setup, and then take it. And you'll see you don't get much heat on those trades. And then the EMA is a secondary key entry point. But here's another one. Here, notice you got a first entry, then it pulls back, and so when it broke higher there, it's a second entry. Look, it took very little heat, just went straight up and stopped, and you met your scalp. How much would you have gotten there? That's 2.5 points. So, and you basically needed 2.5 there. So you could have got your 2.5 points there, or 2.5. Yeah, your 2.5 points. Just go for 2. Whatever. You might. Maybe you let it break higher and you drop a limit order back in enough to get you in to make it reasonable. But you're going to miss the best trades doing that because they usually just take off. So, and here again, we had this channel working up. We got a break. Now prices are trying to make a new high. It's typical price action. Nothing's changed with the price action. The structure, the price movements, everything is the same. The volatility might get a little higher and your bars might get a little bigger, but that's just part of it. And but there's ways around that. But I don't change anything personally. I still trade the exact same. I put my stop 1 tick below the signal bar, and I scalp my 4 ticks on 80% of my contracts, and the other 20% I put towards the runners. Actually, I'm doing 75 and 25. 80-20 is better, but I do the 75-25. I scalp out 15, and I let 5 of them run. I don't have, it works. So just keep that in mind. Hope you enjoyed the trade, and I'll try to demonstrate some more here lately just to show you that it works. I mean, I think I just went out and pointed out all the spots, and you look, they don't take a lot of heat. If you're entering at the key entry points and you're reading the chart right, they don't take a lot of heat. They just usually take off. Just make sure you have room to whatever you're trying to scalp out for or trying to get, or if let's say you're going to get let's say you want to do a swing trade and get it multiple points. Just make sure there's room there, or you're in an uptrend. If you're going sideways, make sure there's room. If you're in an uptrend, make sure your targets at least work out. The target for this breakout of here would be up here if we're going to make a full move. We may not make that. We had a trend, we got a break, and we're close to making a new high here. It might reverse after that, although we might move on and continue and make this measured move here. So just make sure you have room to scalp out if you're scalping, if you're in ranges, or even to get not just scalp out, but I guess what I'm trying to say is if you're trying to get additional, like a swing trade, just make sure there's room or make sure your prices are trending. And we've been trending since right here since 9 o'clock, and so we've been trending a couple hours, although we do have a break and close to making a new high, so the trend could be ending. But anyway, um, hope you enjoyed the trade. I hope this was helpful to you as far if you're having some concerns, does the strategy still work or not, because it does. Again, price movements have not changed. The rules have not changed. The setups have not changed. The only thing that's changed is the bars get a little bigger or get a little smaller depending on the volatility. That does change. But that's the beauty of being able to read a chart, is the price action never changes. Now, if you're trying to do some mechanical strategy, that's why they don't work, because they change, because the price action changes and then it doesn't work. Works for a little while, then it quits working. But if you can read this chart, you got a skill that'll last you forever, because the price movements and the price action never ever changes. And when you understand that, you understand why you can become so consistent and do so well using this strategy, because you can become an expert in price movements and price action. And then just, instead of trying to trade stocks and having to watch 100, just find the market you like. Some people think that, there's word out there at the NQ is easier to trade. It's not any easier to trade once you understand price movements. That's, in my opinion, I've looked at them both. I trade this one because the volume is there. You don't have to worry about slippage, and there's plenty of volume in the ES, and you become an expert in one market. You don't have to you just look at one chart. You don't have to find the chart that's moving that day. Sure, there'll be days where you don't get a lot of trades, but as many as others, but there's some days you get more trades than you could stand. So it all works out. Find your market you like and become an expert at it. But don't let somebody convince you that it's changed, because the price movements and price action has not changed in 25 years, not one bit. Yeah, the volatility's changed, but that's it. And there's ways to work around that. So, and you need to learn those, because it will move up and down. So anyway, I'm going to wrap this one up. Hope it's helpful to you. I didn't mean to drag it out so long, but I think it was worth mentioning, because I think there's people out there that are confused, thinking that the market's changed when it hasn't. So anyway, good luck to you. Good trades to everybody. I'll try to do more of these going forward, but I'm going to wrap this one up. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com.